All right, everybody, welcome to another Let's Talk RPGs. And in this video, I'm going to be talking about Dungeons and Dragons 5th Edition. So, D&D 5e, that's like the 800-pound elephant in the room. You know, it is by far the most played role-playing game in our genre, in the hobby that we love. I mean, D&D 5e is a great system. I mean, it truly is. And, you know, if it wasn't such a great system, Dungeons and Dragons is more popular than ever before. So, plus with social media the way it is now, and, you have Twitch, you have YouTube. So, with everyone, doing their podcasts, their vodcasts, their live games, Geek and Sundry, Wizards of the Coast. I mean, 5th edition has made Dungeons and Dragons more popular than ever before. And I'm glad for that, to be honest. It's nice to see the hobby grow. And we can all thank Dungeons and Dragons for that, because not only has it benefited Dungeons and Dragons, but it's benefited every single small company out there as well that has been producing D&D 5e content. I mean, you've got so much third-party content out there. There's probably more third-party content for D&D 5e than there is for the 3.5 OGL, just because obviously the game is just more popular than ever before. So what am I gonna talk about as my voice just destroys itself? I don't know why. But I'll be talking about how I got into 5e, what I was doing beforehand. I'll also be talking about what I really like about D&D 5e and some things that I don't particularly like about D&D 5e. So I hope you guys will enjoy hearing the next 15, 20 minutes of me talking about D&D 5e, and that's what these Let's Talk RPG videos are all about. So D&D 5th edition. I got into D&D 5th edition back in late 2013-ish, early 14-ish, back when it was called D&D Next, and it was in playtest format. And every couple of months, new playtest packets would come out with, rules adjusted and new spells and new archetypes, new classes, etc. And I was playing a newly launched MMO, still D&D. I was playing Neverwinter Online. And I was playing Neverwinter Online with my friends Chili, and my son was playing, Vay was playing, and we all decided we wanted to play some real D&D, and nobody really wanted a DM. I didn't want a DM either, but I decided to take one for the team, and I said, okay, I'll DM. I mean, I've been playing since 1984. And I never DM'd. I mean, I goofed around a couple of times when I was younger, but nothing serious. So I decided I was going to play D&D online. And we had no clue what we were going to do online. And thankfully, I think it was my son said, hey, check out this Roll20. And I did. And I was like, oh, this is really cool. And this is, back before I knew about Fantasy Grounds. So I checked out the virtual tabletop, and I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. We can, keep our character sheets. We can have maps. We can, move our miniatures around. I call tokens miniatures, by the way, everybody. So, let me know in the comments section if you think that's wrong or not, by the way. I'm sure somebody will. Well, David, technically, those are not miniatures. I'm sure somebody will, so please let me have it. And I was like, yeah, this is really cool. So we started playing. Well, we first started playing before we got into the next playtest, the D&D next playtest. For a little while, for a couple of months, we played basic D&D, Beck Me. And I had a player that was such a Pathfinder fanatic at the time. And he was just so unhappy about D&D classic or basic D&D. Oh, you're doing this all wrong. You're supposed to be taking attacks of opportunity, and you're supposed to be spell stealing and counter spell. I'm like, dude, this is basic Dungeons and Dragons. This guy had no clue whatsoever about basic D&D. So he made everybody miserable in the game because he just kept ragging on me. And he goes, I'm really disappointed. I thought you were going to know the rules. And I'm like, dude, we are not playing Pathfinder. And during the game, he was sending me all these emails on things that I need to incorporate into the game, like attacks of opportunity and, diagonal movement at 5'10", 5'10", and all this other stuff. And he just made it unenjoyable for everybody. And I remember after the first session, we booted him out. We basically booted the guy out of the game. We said, no, we don't want you in the game. And come to find out, this is a funny little story about, But anyway, this guy, unfortunately, was in a wheelchair. And now all my players are giving me a hard time because I booted someone in a wheelchair out of the game. But they were just, kidding around about it. But yeah, it was crazy. So we didn't really have fun that first session. But after that, man, the game rolled on, and man, my friend Chili, man, he decapitated this orc, and then he ran up to the head and kicked it. And the kick was a critical strike on another orc and killed that orc with the head. It was so awesome. I remember that like as if it was yesterday. But yeah, this was a point in time to where, for the last, I would say for probably 10 years or so, I was really heavily into MMOs. I mean, I was in a guild that we were together for 10 years. We played EverQuest. We played EverQuest 2. We played the hell out of Dark Age of Camelot, best PvP game ever. Oh man, we played that more than anything. And then we got into Lord of the Rings Online. And then every time they would put more raid content out, we beat it, then we'd go play something else. But we always reverted back. We always had to keep our keep in, Dark Age of Camelot. So we were phasing out. Our guild just basically, we had beaten every game, and we were just tired of, it was more of a job, really, because I was raid leader. And I had to do all the work and invest all the time and, creating these tactics for encounters and stuff. And I just didn't want to do it anymore. So our guild just kind of broke up. And that's when I should have said this first, but that's when I started playing Neverwinter Online, because it was D&D. It's, believe it or not, Neverwinter Online is 4th edition mechanics and classes and stuff. And I really liked that. Because I was a fan of 4th edition. And so I was phasing MMOs out. It was a great way for my son and I, because by this point my son was older now. He's starting to raid with the guild and everything. And he wanted to play D&D too. So, all these people that I had met in Neverwinter Online, we got together and we started playing. And we had a great time. So, I mean, and now it's 2020. D&D's officially been out since 2014. So the game's 6 years old. It's still fairly new. It's not brand new. But I can see, honestly, and I've been saying this since Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition first came out. And a lot of people were telling me that I was batshit crazy for saying this 6 years ago. But I can actually see D&D 5th edition having a lifespan like a Dungeons & Dragons Advanced 2nd edition. I could see 5th edition lasting for almost 20 years. I really can. Because like I already mentioned, it's more popular than ever before. There's more people playing D&D than ever before. So, yeah, I can see D&D lasting for that long. But it's also concerning to me as well. And I'll kind of talk about the concerns that I have and the longevity of it. But honestly, I don't think 5e is going to change anytime soon. I really don't. But 5th edition is great. And, the things that I really like about Dungeons and Dragons, first and foremost, it's all about growing the hobby, right? We want to grow the hobby. We want to grow this hobby that we love so much. And D&D 5th edition is so new player friendly. It's awesome. The mechanics are super easy to learn. I mean, once you, and this goes for all editions, the more you play it, the better you're going to get at it. The more proficient you're going to be. The less you're going to have to look in a rule book or reference cards or whatever you use. But straight out of the box, D&D 5th edition is probably the best new player friendly edition of any. And it's very forgiving too. And that's another thing that I like about Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition. It is very new player friendly, but that kind of hurts the game maybe later on down the line. And that's something that I'll talk about here in a little bit as well. But the rules are very rule light. D20 plus your ability plus a proficiency, any other bonuses, that's it. Basically like every other D20 system out there. It's basically the same, but there's less fluff in D&D 5e, less rules, a lot less rules. And I'm a rule light friendly kind of guy because, hey, I played BECME for all those years. I played basic D&D. I'm not a real heavy rules type of DM. And in fact, I've even ran D&D 3.5 and we got rid of all the attacks of opportunity and a lot of the other, heavy rules that made 3.5 so cumbersome. We took that away. So, yes, I really like that D&D 5e is rule light. I love it. It's such a huge draw from D&D 3.5 and Pathfinder. And Pathfinder lost a lot of players. When D&D 4th edition came out, D&D 3.5 really, they took over the industry. The portion of the pie that they had, it was probably most of the pie. And, when D&D 5th edition came out, Paizo lost a lot of that portion of the pie. So they only have a regular piece of pie, and the 800-pound elephant in the room, being D&D 5th edition, they gained back all their players that they lost. And the numbers are there to prove it. Just look at the virtual tabletop websites with the amount of games played per game type. And 5th edition just overwhelmed the entire pie. Which I think is good because I think everybody just was so maybe just tired of all the rules and the rules for rules and all this. And I think 5e was a breath of fresh air for most of the industry. So yeah, Paizo lost most of the pie. D&D or Wizards of the Coast gained it back for 5th edition. And I think that's good. And competition is great. And we're going to talk about that pie as well here later on in the video with Pathfinder 2, because now Pathfinder 2nd edition is out. So I really like the way the mechanics are for D&D. I love advantage and disadvantage. And for all of you out there that don't know where advantage and disadvantage came from, that's right. It came from 4th edition. I think there might have been a couple things in 3.5 as well. but it was primarily used in D&D 4th edition. It wasn't labeled. Now I'll say this: it wasn't labeled as advantage and disadvantage. It was attack twice, take the best roll, or attack twice and take the worst roll. So that's how advantage and disadvantage was. But now it's basically one of the main features in D&D 5e, and I really like advantage and disadvantage. However, I will say this: even though I am a big fan of advantage and disadvantage, I like the way that the advantage and disadvantage is done in Shadow of the Demon Lords. So in D&D 5e, of course, you take a d20, you roll it twice, and you take the highest. That's a huge advantageous thing, and it's very disadvantageous when you're rolling twice and taking the lowest. And I mean, that's all fine and well. I mean, it's the mechanic. That's how it's supposed to be. And I really like it. But I think I would tweak it a little bit. But that I know it will never be changed. It hasn't been changed in, 6 years. It won't be changed. But if you're not familiar with the boons and banes and Shadow of the Demon Lord, there are still advantages and disadvantages, and they cancel each other out. So if you have 5 disadvantages and 8 advantages or whatever, then you would just kind of deduct them from each other, and then you would roll 6-sideds. And then you would take the highest roll from the 6-sided, and that would be your advantage or your disadvantage. So it's not like getting a whole nother die. I mean, yeah, it's not like that. It's just like a small modifier, and I like that because, and I'll talk about the numbers anyway. But Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition is a low numbers game. It's not like D&D 4th edition. It's not like D&D 3.5. It's not like Pathfinder. It is a very low numbers game, and but I like that. If you're going to have a simple rule set, low numbers are definitely the way to go. So, what else do I like about D&D 5th edition besides the super rule light mechanics and stuff like that? I also like the way that D&D 5th edition is set up for dungeon masters. Now, yeah, I mean, it's set up beautifully. Don't get me wrong, but Dungeons and Dragons 4th edition was set up magnificently for dungeon masters. And D&D is, when I started checking out the playtest, and when, the Ghost of Dragonspear Castle came out, and Vault of the Draco Lich, and Dead and Thay, and all these other adventures back when it was in a playtest, it was set up almost as nice as D&D 4th edition. But it is. It's set up beautifully for a DM. And you can even run a D&D 5e adventure with little or no prep at all, just because of the way that it's set up. So that's another great thing that I really like about D&D 5e. Now, another thing that I really like about 5e is the steady flow of content that's coming out. So you can see behind me that's all the D&D 5e stuff right there. So there will probably be, 10 times as many books by the time it's all said and done and they move to 6th edition. That's even if they do. Like I said, call me crazy, but I can see this edition lasting at least for another 10 years. If it's not broken, why fix it? Nobody's complaining about D&D 5e. The majority of the players. I mean, there's maybe some balance. My ranger isn't good enough, or whatever. I mean, you've been hearing that all the time, but I can really see it lasting at least another 10 years. So the steady flow of content coming out is nice. 3 books, 4 books a year, and you got plenty of content coming out. Now, another thing that I like, but I'm on the blade, I'm on the edge of the knife on this, is proficiency. Remember, I mentioned D&D is a low numbers game. And proficiency is very advantageous for the players, as it should be. But seeing that this is a low numbers game, I think proficiency kind of hurts the mechanics in a couple of ways. The first way is because it does make it too advantageous for players. And another reason is it kind of nullifies magic item attack bonuses. So if you have, if you're a higher level character, you got a +5 or +6, you got a +4 or 5 ability score, you got a +3 magic item, you're looking at least +13 to attack. There's really no monsters out there that have any tough ACs until you get to about the Roper or so at 18 and higher. And then you look at the Roper, the Storm Giants, the Adult Dragons and higher, and Ogre Mawk and Tiamat and stuff like that. That's not a lot of monsters that you can actually have some competition with. So I think proficiency is good. But I think it can also make the game a little bit too easy. I wish the monsters, and this is something that I'll talk about, I wish monsters scaled a little bit better in D&D 5e. But proficiency, it's a low numbers game, and I think if you took proficiency out altogether, I think it would make magic items more valuable. And I mean, sure, and what I was doing in my games, my D&D 5th edition games, I was taking attack off of the weapon altogether because my players were still hitting anyway. So what I did was I would take the attack away and give it a better damage bonus. So, but that's just my personal opinion. I think proficiency could be taken out, as a house rule, but, I do like the proficiency. I mean, it's automatic. You gain it at 1 and then 6 and 11. So, yeah. But it just when it gets too high, I think the numbers, seeing that it's a low numbers game, it just gets kind of out of control. And actually, my players have commented on that as well. Because you'll see, a challenge rating for a creature with, +4, +5 to attack. I mean, it's not anywhere close to where it needs to be. But proficiency, I like it, but maybe some tweaks. Like another thing that I really love about D&D 5e is the art. I mean, the art's stunning. I mean, let's just face it. Every edition of D&D has amazing art. And that even goes back to the black and white Elmore pieces back in basic D&D, first edition, advanced, etc. I mean, the art is always going to be amazing in D&D. They've always got some of the best artists in the industry when it comes to art. Another couple things that I really like about D&D 5e as well is skill system. And you got 3.5, you got all these skill ranks and everything. And with proficiency, it really helped the skill system, in my opinion, because it was just less micromanaging with, primary levels, and you got half level in 4th edition, you got ranks in 3.5 in Pathfinder. So just giving a proficiency bonus and your ability score bonus for skills, I think that was great. And then I also think it was great that, there were 40 or 50 skills in 3.5. I mean, just to cut those down to under 20, that was a great thing to do as well. I mean, because, a lot of those skills in 3.5, I mean, they were needed, but I mean, were they really needed? So, and then I also like how you can have a ton of magic items on your character, but having only 3 attuned to magic items, I like that. Yeah, I like that. So that's pretty much, a lot of the, and there's more things that and I'm trying to think of all of this stuff off my head, but those are pretty much the main things that I really like about D&D 5e. I mean, it is a really good game, and obviously it wouldn't be a good game if it was so popular. So the major majority of people like D&D 5e, and that's a good thing because the industry needs it. I mean, let's face it. Wizards of the Coast, Dungeons and Dragons, they are the face of the industry. Even when I was younger and we were going to play Talislanta or we were going to play Star Frontiers or any other game, we always said, let's play D&D. Even though we meant we were going to play another game. So yeah, it's great to see D&D 5e actually revitalize the genre and the hobby that we love and make it as popular as it is. I mean, there's no doubt it's more popular now than it ever was before. So let's talk about a couple of things that I don't really particularly. It's not that I don't like these. These are just things that I kind of dislike a little bit, and I wish that they may have been done a little bit differently from the start, and maybe taken the playtest feedback packets, maybe have looked at them a little bit more closer. But the number one thing that I don't like about 5e are the monsters challenge ratings. I hate that. And this is the only thing that I don't like, and I'll be very, and I've talked about this before. Now, when D&D Next was in the playtest, all the creatures had a level. And it was much easier to, okay, we're going to do this hit dice plus con, whatever. All right. But whenever D&D 5th edition came out, the monster manual came out, there's a challenge rating. And when the Dungeon Master's Guide came out, the first thing I wanted to do is I wanted to see the formula for creating monsters. And I couldn't get it. I mean, I've been playing D&D for so long, and when I looked at in the DM's toolbox on how to create monsters in the Dungeon Master's Guide, trying to create a monster is very daunting in 5th edition. And there are huge swings in numbers. So you can have, for a challenge rating 1/2 creature, you can have 1 hit dice to like 8 hit dice. I mean, it's just a huge swing of numbers. Maybe not even high as 8, but maybe 4 or 5. But as you look down to the challenge ratings, these numbers just keep getting larger and larger gaps in between them. And if you're familiar with the Dungeon Master's Guide, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. Because of the hit dice ranges, the damage ranges, it's crazy. I don't even know if maybe they didn't understand when they were putting it together. I don't know. I don't know. I can't give you a definitive answer. And we haven't gotten a definitive answer. I mean, through Unearthed Arcana or, tweets or anything like that. The answer is it's up to your dungeon master what you want to do. Now, if it were me, I would have done something more like a 13th Age, a Starfinder, or Pathfinder 2, to where you have, if you're going to make a level 1 creature, this is how many hit points it's got. This is your damage. This is your reflex. This is your will. These are your saving throws. This is your damage. If you want to have a level 1 heroic or a leader, this is what you get. And just rename all of the attacks and the damages to match what's in that line. And I love that. I'm a very simple person. And when I see that on Starfinder and 13th Age, to where these are what stats you're going to have for your monster, just rename all the flavor texts as you want. I love that. I mean, that's great. And I wish they would actually revise that later on, but I really don't think that's going to happen. Because I think it probably would have already happened with like Volo's Guide to Monsters or something. Which I will say that Volo's Guide to Monsters is a huge improvement over the Monster Manual. Although all of the legendary creatures in the Monster Manual were beautiful. It was just, all the other creatures were just kind of, they didn't have enough class features. They didn't have enough racial features on them. And, a lot of people say, well, why don't you just modify your monsters, Digital Dungeon Master? Well, surprise, I shouldn't have to. If I just spent $40, $50 on a book, I shouldn't have to modify everything. Everything should have been play tested so thoroughly that I shouldn't have to modify anything. Unless I want to add sneak attack on a bullywug or something like that. But for the core mechanics of monsters, I shouldn't have to touch anything. I shouldn't have to add plus 10 to hit or add 2 more dice to damage. I mean, I shouldn't have to do that. Nobody should. Another thing that I think can use a little bit of help, but yeah, that's the only thing, that was the only thing that I really didn't like about D&D 5e. And if that's the only thing that I really don't like about D&D 5e, then the game in itself is doing an amazing job. So if that's the only thing that I can really, really thoroughly, nitpick, that the game's in good shape. Because I feel I'm pretty picky. So another thing that I think can use some help, still a great product, but can use some help, is the public play system. D&D Adventurers League. Back in D&D 4th edition, the public play, they were beautiful. These kits that they would send to the game stores were absolutely beautiful. You had your Delve Night, you had D&D Encounter seasons. I believe there was like 13 or 14 seasons of D&D Encounters. And then you had Layer Assaults. And then, there was some Living Forgotten Realms and stuff as well. That was community driven, which was beautiful as well. But the 4th edition public playtest, they were beautiful. Beautiful color books. You would get tokens. You would get character sheets. You'd get like character sheets like these for 4th edition where you could pass them around and stuff. And, you got pogs, you got map tiles, you got beautiful color fold-out maps. I mean, it was beautiful. And they sent these packets to their game stores. But that's all long gone. I mean, in D&D 5th edition, Adventurers League is a basic black and white PDF. I mean, unfortunately, there's no color cartography. There's no imagery at all. And the adventures are amazing. I mean, they really are. But if they just went a little bit, if they put a little bit more into it, and I get it, they probably don't make any money on Adventurers League, so that's probably why they don't do it anymore. But if they went that little bit extra and put color into the PDFs, let's put some art. It's not like you don't have 15 vaults of art over there. You guys got plenty of art. You can put color art. You can, you've got cartographers. I mean, these hand-drawn maps are, the black and white maps, we're in a digital age, man. Virtual tabletops all over the place. Color maps would be really nice, but I think the whole reason was because I think it boils down to they invested so heavily into 4th edition public play. They probably lost their butts on it. So the end result is what we have now in Adventurers League. So, but like I said, not to take anything away from Adventurers League, because the content is really good. The adventures are great. It's just that I wish there was a little bit more with art and cartography and stuff. But like I said, this is my video. This is stuff that this just off of the the top of my head. Another thing that concerns me about D&D 5th edition is the regurgitation on old modules that I've already been done. And I'm not talking, just a module here or there that's been done. I mean, usually modules are regurgitated every single edition. I mean, look at Tomb of Horrors, look at, Princes of, Elemental Temple of Elemental Evil, the G series, the Giant series. I mean, that stuff is rehashed every single edition. And I would like to see, you have Greenwood's Faerun. It's the size of the United States, right? 3,000 by 2,500 miles, whatever it is. Let's get out of the Sword Coast. Granted, yes, you did Tomb of Annihilation. That was nice. But let's do some other stuff. Our very first D&D 5th edition campaign setting was Tyranny of Dragons. I mean, the Cultists, the Red Wizards of Thay, those are such a huge part of the story. When I was running Tyranny of Dragons, I was like, wow, I really thought that there was going to be a campaign based in Thay with Zastam and how the Red Wizards were taken over by the undead. Here we are, 6 years later, nothing on the Red Wizards of Thay or Zastam, or that would be such a great adventure path. So that's another thing that, kind of concerns me a little bit is, the regurgitation. I mean, I've already played, most of this stuff. I'd like to see new content. In Tomb of Annihilation, that was nice to be able to go to Chult. But I mean, what they're putting out, I mean, it's all great stuff, and it's been adapted wonderfully to D&D 5th edition. But I would like to see more of the Forgotten Realms explored. I would like to see that. Another thing is, what I was thinking about, I'm like, hey, what happened to basic Dungeons and Dragons, 1st edition, 2nd edition advanced, 3rd, 3.5, 4th edition? What happened to all the little 32 and 64 page modules? What happened to them? I've actually had my players talk about, it took us a year and a half to play Tyranny of Dragons. It took us a year and a half to play Princes of Apocalypse and Out of the Abyss and all these other, massive 200 and 300 plus page campaigns. How about some smaller adventures? Like Tales from the Yawning Portal. That was beautifully done. But they were all modules rehashed again. What about a book of, 6 or 7 brand new adventures that are set in all the different regions of the Forgotten Realms? That would be awesome, wouldn't it? I think 32 and 64 page modules would be awesome, Another thing that concerns me, and this is to go back with the longevity of Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition, is character customization. Now, the way it is in D&D 5th edition is you have your core class, right? One of the 12 main core classes. And then you have archetypes, which you can get an archetype at level 1 if you're a cleric, or 3 if you're a ranger. I think the druid is level 2. But every single archetype is the exact same thing. So if you're playing a champion fighter, every single champion fighter is the exact same, except for that fighting style that you take at level 1? That's the only difference. Every single evocation wizard is the same, granted the spells that they take. Or every single hunter rogue or beastmaster rogue is the same. How about and of course I know that the archetypes, they change, but all of the features inside stay the same. However, I will say this. There are the Warlock, incantations, sorcerers with sorcery points, and you got the Battlemaster Fighter. Now, if all of the classes in D&D 5th edition had mechanics and special features like those 3 classes that I just mentioned, I think it would be better for the long run for D&D 5e, because a lot of my players, we've been playing, like I said, for 5-6 years, and they want character customization. I mean, feats, they're optional. You either take a feat or an ability score improvement. But then again, it goes back to low numbers, because you just can't pump out feats every couple levels like 3.5, 4th edition. You just can't keep pumping feats out, because the numbers would just keep going up and up and up, because most of the feats give an ability score, 1 point ability score improvement. So, but the whole level 20 thing, is level 20 really needed in D&D 5e? I don't think so. I mean, I think the game would be just as great with a level 10 cap, and then maybe do prestige stuff after level 10 to level 20. They don't put any. I mean, there's some content out now that goes up to level 15, and I think Mad Mage goes to 20. But I mean, you can kind of agree to disagree. Maybe the level range should be changed. Let's just face it. Most games will never see level 10 plus anyway. That's why most of the content is created for level 1 to 10, is because higher level games just normally do not exist. So, character customization. That's not only me, that's my players have shown a lot of concern about the lack of character customization. I think players want choices. And when they don't get choices, I think they kind of get a little bored with their character. But, just everything being set within an archetype, choices. Maybe something, like I said, like the Battlemaster or the Sorcerer or the Warlock. There's a lot of choices in those classes. So, but I just think everything is just, for the most part, streamlined. I mean, they're great classes, don't get me wrong. There's a couple of classes that need a little bit of help, but I think they've addressed that over player supplements that have come out over the years. But yeah, players like choices. Another major thing, and this is not only me, I see this all over the place. The cartography in D&D 5th edition. How now, over the last 3 or 4, I think, since, what was it? I think it started with Waterdeep Dragon Heist. No more color maps. They're all black and white now. And I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. How about putting out map packs for Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition? How about putting out optional map packs that we can purchase with all of the maps that would be in color? I think that would be a great thing, and I think that would be a very wise move from a business standpoint as well. I think people want the maps, they want to use the maps, and when you have these, sure, you can still use the D&D tiles reincarnated and all this other stuff, but if you have those color maps and if you give them to the public as an option, I think that would be a good thing to do, would be to offer cartography. That's just me, and even, but you can get you can get the digital ones. They're extra purchases, like from when Michael Schley was doing. I don't know what happened between why Michael Schley isn't doing maps anymore, but you used to be able to go to his website and buy the digital maps that you could import into your online games. But now they're not doing color cartography anymore. I don't understand why that's happening, but I don't know. It's all theater of mind, I guess. But and the last thing that I want to talk about is the DM's Guild. Man, this is the Wild West of D&D 5e. I mean, there's some pretty impressive stuff on the DM's Guild to me. I've seen some pretty impressive stuff. But then again, I've seen some stuff like, wow, why, there was a rogue brawler. I love the rogue brawler from 4th edition. And there was a 5th edition adaptation of the rogue brawler. But when I went in and opened up the PDF, it was spelled Rouge. I'm going, there's no policing on the DM's Guild, which is kind of good and bad. It would take a lot of labor and a lot of financial investment to kind of preview everything and overview everything and police it. But like I said, there's some great content on the DM's Guild. That's just something that I just kind of stay away from. So, but the DM's Guild, there's definitely some good stuff on there, especially like, when Baker put out the Eberron books, and I mean, there's a lot of great stuff, and there's a lot of old classic stuff that have been converted. That's nice also. So, but I'm just not into the DM's Guild. I like official content, official canon and stuff. So, and plus I've seen a lot of those classes, and they're super powerful, and they're like twice or 3 times as powerful as a core rulebook class, and I'm just like, I don't want that in my game. So, but yeah, but I mean, I hope you guys, just because I love D&D 5th edition. If I didn't love D&D 5th edition, do you think I would have played it from 2013 to 2019? Do you think I would have played it for 6 solid years? Man, I love D&D 5e, and there's a massive amount of likes, and there's some dislikes as well. And when you play a game, I'm sure everybody out there has likes and dislikes. So don't take this as I'm bashing D&D 5e. I'm not. I love D&D 5e. I'll be first to, play it. I mean, I'm taking a break from D&D 5e right now because I've been playing it for, 6.5, 7 solid years. But I love the game. I just have some concerns over it, for even though I think it's going to last for probably another 10 years or so, because it's not broke, so why fix it? But I do have some concerns, and especially with the release of Pathfinder 2. One of my players brought this up. He's like, Dave, when we start playing again, can we play Pathfinder 2? And the main thing with that is character customization. My players, man, they love character customization. And it's not only my players, but I've seen this on RPG threads and stuff like this, to where people really want choices. And, 4th edition was all about choices. Even though it wasn't the most popular game, it had plenty of choices. And, I mean, Pathfinder 2, it's got a lot of choices as well. And they're putting out, supplements every single month. And the options are just, there's just more and more options every month to create characters. So that's a concern for me. Because remember, I talked about the pie, the overall pie. And right now, D&D 5e has the majority of that pie. But over time, will the pie shrink, and will Paizo start getting some of their portion of the pie back? I think it can happen. And I think it is starting to happen now. Not on a mass exodus type of scale or anything, but I do believe that there are people making the move to Pathfinder 2. Simply because, you can tell by the numbers, and the numbers don't lie. But when you see virtual tabletop programs posting their game numbers, and D&D 5e is going down and Pathfinder is going up, that's got to be a concern. So, yeah. So anyway, everybody, that's my take on D&D 5e. I love D&D 5e. There's a lot that I like, and there's some concerns that I have for it. So why don't you guys let me know down in the comments section below on what you like about D&D 5th edition, what you would like to see maybe modified or house ruled or anything like that. I'd like to know, and I'll answer all your comments. So thank you guys for watching. If you liked the video, please thumbs it up. If you didn't like the video, thumbs it down. It don't matter to me. I stopped worrying about that a long time ago. So, but anyways, just leave a comment because I will answer your comments. So thanks everybody again for watching. Subscribe to my channel. Until next time, happy gaming and stay safe. Bye everybody.